I'm Melanie Fenwick Thompson, and this is Wait One Legal Minute. I've been having these conversations with you on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 o'clock, and hope that you continue to join and like, subscribe, share these conversations and be engaged. I hope that they are engaging. This is something that I have been wanting to do. And of course, in the midst of COVID, I have had the time to focus and reflect on ideas and passions that I've had. So thank you for joining me. I am excited about these conversations. Tony, thank you as usual for joining and supporting me. I appreciate you. I'm going to wait a couple seconds because good morning, Carmen. Thanks for supporting. I'm going to wait a couple minutes not a couple minutes, but a few seconds, because one of the comments that I get is you start too soon, you get into the meat and potatoes too soon, and it takes, I guess, maybe a couple minutes for the live to show up on your feed. So thank you, Tony. So I'm going to wait just a couple seconds to give people an opportunity to stop working and join my conversation. I appreciate y'all. All right, let's see. Oh, look, I appreciate the likes. I'm not getting any hearts yet. I love hearts. Send me some hearts. So while I wait, why don't I talk about some of my previous shows, or at least Tuesday's conversation. I spoke again about government lifting the order, as well as the SBA loan distributions. I spoke or an update on the loan distributions. Finally, additional funding was approved. Good morning, Eloretha. You actually had a time to jump on. I appreciate that. Eloretha has a show. Eloretha Coleman, a colleague, has a show coming up at 12 o'clock. Y'all support her as well. Some great information. Excellent attorney here in Atlanta. So what the subject that I spoke about on Tuesday, one of the subjects was additional funding being approved and dispersed to small businesses. The issue, as we all know, is they've ran out of money. The Treasury Department then asked the publicly traded companies to return the money that they were provided for purposes of the Payment Protection Plan and the SBA lending. So they were asked to return those funds. Some of those companies they had a certain timeline or deadline that they needed to respond, and some of them actually received the money, actually returned the money to the Treasury. So I now can say that I do know some small businesses that have received funding now, and I'm happy to say that. And I've personally just said, I'm so happy that you received that money. I asked them, though, are you using a big bank? Did a big bank issue these funds? And I have not received any. I am not still aware of any colleague, small business person who received funding from a larger bank. I myself bank with Bank of America, still have not received any funding. It is like pulling teeth to get any updates, and they are not helpful at all. So yes, I'm going to do some things differently. And I keep saying, I'm going to wait till this pandemic is over. I'm going to wait for this funding, this second round of funding to be depleted. And if I still don't get my loan, that's when I'm going to decide to move my money. Thank you. I think Stephanie Dixon just joined. I appreciate you, Stephanie. She is another attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. We just have so much support within our circle. I appreciate you guys. So if you all have any thoughts, comments, or if you are a small business and you did receive funding from a larger bank, I'd like to know about it. I want to share and have conversations about facts, okay? Another update is there was probably sometime in March, the end of March, there was a new bill introduced as part of the CARES Act. If you don't have a 16-year-old child or older, you may not know this. Hey, Gidget, thanks for joining. But the first bill that was passed excluded 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds and college students and students or children dependents who were disabled. they did not, or their guardians did not receive the $500 stipend that guardians receive for dependents. They did not. Congress did not contemplate 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, college students who were still dependents in the original bill. Thank you so much for Valerie Griffin. She sent me the article for me to consider speaking about today, and I'm going to include a few articles about this very subject in the comments. But since the original bill was passed, within this new round, a new bill was introduced, All Dependents Count Act, and it's a bill that will expand the qualifying age of a dependent to 19 and to 24 if you are a dependent and a student, and beyond 24 for individuals with disabilities. So I really appreciate the states that made them come back and include or fill in this gap that was missed, because I myself also have a 17-year-old, and it is a huge sector of the population that was disregarded, if you will, in the original bill. And I am so glad that we have some senators that realized that and went back and added All Dependents Count Act in this second round. I do not know the status of, I do know the status of the bill, and I wanted to share this in the stream. This is how I looked up the status of the bill. I'd never done this before. I'll leave that link in for you so that you can track the bill yourself as it moves through Congress. Someone just said that they cannot hear me, so I wanted to make sure that hopefully that is her. No, someone else said that they cannot hear me. Why would you not be able to hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Sound back. I can hear. Thank you. Good morning, Gidget. Good morning, Rochelle. Good morning, Kamei. Was that entire section that I just spoke about muted out? Because it was so good. I was showing the act. It's only when you go off screen. Okay, good to know. Thank you. All right. I appreciate that. Hey, Phil. Hey, Tony. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about this. Listen, I'm learning this system. I appreciate y'all. I don't want to take too much time on that. You can track the bill. That's what I had up in the screen, but apparently you couldn't hear me. I will leave the link to that bill. If you have a 16-year-old child, dependent child, or older, you may want to follow that bill and the status of that bill. I will include it, but Kamei heard it all. So interesting. I will include the link for you to track that bill yourself. I probably will follow up on Tuesday. I think that's just really important. And these are the kind of conversations that I want to have. This is not a political show. This is not, it is just a conversation. And it is information that I want to exchange and hear your feedback. So if y'all have any feedback on Congress just not addressing our children who are 16, dependent children who are 16 years old, and older, and young adults with disabilities or college students, let me hear your thoughts. I appreciate you, Tiff. I just have to read. She says, I can't hear you, but this looks dope. Keep sharing knowledge. Thank you. I appreciate you. Tiff also has a show, Hood Court. Is that right? Tiff, correct me if I'm wrong. You probably can't hear me. If someone knows her show, if you could just put that in the comments. Listen, we all support each other. Everybody's trying to hone their crafts during this time. Let's be somewhere different than we were at the end of this pandemic. So my next topic I wanted to talk about was beauty, appearance, and professionalism. Last summer, I started filming these videos, and I was just inundated with Oprah Winfrey's show, Black Women Own the Conversation. And one of the topics, and this is on the OWN network, one of the topics, it seemed like every show, every episode, I could relate to, if not all of the topics, most of the topics that were covered on the show. But this one topic, and let me tell you a little bit about the show. It is a thought leaders and celebrities discuss important issues with 100 Black women. Journalist Carlos Watson hosts the panelists and Black women across 4 episodes focusing on love, relationships, motherhood, beauty, and mind, body, and soul. There's a male mediator, Carlos Watson, just an exemplary resume, Harvard undergrad, Stanford Law School. He's co-hosted several shows, been the host on CNBC, Fox News, CNN. He's been on MSNBC. He's launched his own daily digital news and cultural magazine, Aussie Media. He's just really a phenomenal host, and he's very good. He's engaging. He is compassionate. He really is patient with the audience and the conversation. So this is not my next comment, or where I'm leading is not to detract at all from, I guess, his level of qualifications. But I was curious as to whether or not a woman moderator would have added or interrupted the flow of the conversation and sharing of the information, based on the premise of the show being about Black women, for Black women, and the progression of Black women in society and in corporate America, in their families. I just wonder, I'm sure the selection of a Black male moderator was intentional. Of course, it's Oprah Winfrey. But I just wonder how a Black female moderator would have added or detracted from the conversation. One of the topics that was discussed about beauty and appearance, I actually spoke about a few weeks ago with my guest, Jamie Smith-Chair, my guest and partners, business partners, Jamie Smith-Chair and Jabrina Johnson. And what I talked about was at the beginning of me practicing law, it was such an emphasis on looking professional. I felt that I could not go to court with my hair like this. I couldn't go to court with my natural hair. I thought I had to wear straight hair. And if there was a kink, then it needed to be straightened out because it wasn't professional. Had to wear stockings, had to wear black or blue suits. As I've grown, personally and professionally, I think I've matured, become a little more confident, and I've just started to care less. But I still want to maintain my professionalism and what I think, in my eyes, is a professional look. So I just wanted to take some time to have some discussion and show you a clip from the Black Women Own the Conversation. And I'm not going to, tell me if you can still hear me. I don't think you can hear the show. So I'm trying to play this little clip. So let me go back to here. And I'm sorry, this is Kim Whitley opens the conversation with, why does it take a man to validate us? Stacey Abrams is going to respond to Miss Whitley, and I like how she expands it to not how she expands the question, and how she personally deals with validation in general. And I think that this is just really crucial to us, Black women, to women in general, and self-confidence and being professional. So let's see if I can get this clip playing for you. And if you could just bear with me for a second.
Why does it take a man to validate us? And for me also. I'm just wondering, since this is a conversation.
I don't care what men think or women think. Honestly, this goes back to the beginning. Beauty is not the thing I think about all the time. I will think about how I dress because people will make comments about it. And I was raised to know that you enter a space the way you want to be perceived. And there are certain constructs that I adhere to, but most of them I don't care about. I ran for governor as a sturdy woman with natural hair, a gap between my teeth, and
even though that wasn't what people expected, did you find out that actually that's what more of us wanted?
The reality is I didn't care. And I think that's part of it. To your point about whether those of us who are heterosexual need men to validate us or whomever, I don't care about that. And it's taken a while, but my confidence in my capacity is what I care about. My question to myself, when I had people who'd known me for years, who had supported my ambitions for years, who said, well, you can't do this. You can't be the first because of what you look like. Who said, well, are you going to get your hair permed? I'm like, I haven't had a perm since 1995. No. But more than that, I like who I am. And because I like who I am, and because I knew I was the best person for the job, I wasn't going to wait until Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig turned me into the after picture. I wasn't going to Invisalign myself out of looking like my mother. And, look, I did not grow up exercising. I used to be that thin. I miss those days, but not enough to go back to them.
Right.
I want to be healthy, but I'm not trying to fit anyone else's image because there has not been what I am. Therefore, I'm going to be what I am.
I hope you were able to see that and hear that interview or that conversation on Black Women Own the Conversation. I'm still learning how to work with this belief, but in that interview or in that conversation, Stacey Abrams just spoke so eloquently about this topic. And in short, she said she doesn't care. Although she was taught to enter a space the way you want to be perceived, she wasn't going to Invisalign herself into looking like her mother. I just think that these are words that we need to share with our young women. Be who you are. Be confident. Confidence and capacity. She couldn't have said it any better. What is in your head is much more important than your hair. And those things that we worried about, or at least, like I said, I did when I don't know about you. Tell me about your story. But those things that I worried about when I was in law school or getting out of law school or my first time going to court, just so in need of validation and understanding or wanting to know that I was accepted, that me in my skin with my hair, with my big lips, was going to be accepted, that my legal arguments were going to be accepted in the same manner that my legal counterparts legal arguments were going to be accepted. Those things weighed so heavily on me. And it's just so wonderful now to have so much reinforcement and affirmation from our leaders, our women leaders. And I just received a comment from a dear friend, and we always call each other accountability partners. She said, do you actually not care if you enter a space the way you want to be perceived? Is that actually caring? Thinking about others' perception of you? I believe that my interpretation of what Ms. Abrams was saying is what she was taught. And then as she matured, that weighed less. And instead of the physical appearance, she focused more on her mental capacity. And for me, when I enter a space, I do care about being professional. I don't care if you don't think that me in my natural state is not professional. I also agree that the words that come out of my mouth, the legal arguments that I can craft, the way that I speak, the way that I present my argument is more important to me than my curly hair. So I think that for me, I do think that perception weighs in, but where I place emphasis on that perception, Gidget, is different than where I placed it before, because I'm confident in my legal arguments. I'm confident with going to court now, and so I'm less concerned about looking like my counterparts now. I'm less concerned about my hair being straight. I'm less concerned about those things, and I'm more concerned about my work product and the perception that I am leaving with my words rather than with my whether my hair is straight or not. And I do think that we, as when we have more to think about, we have more to consider than our male counterparts or our white female counterparts. And if my white female counterparts and friends who are listening say, no, I have to think about all those things too, I would love to hear from you as well. But we do have more to think about, but I don't place the emphasis on the same things that I did 20 years ago. I have another comment. There will always be a counterpart that is taller, thinner, more beautiful, better hair. The way you can show your intellectual depth and worth in a courtroom, particularly in preparedness and legal acumen. That's where the focus should be. And that is, thank you, Regina, for that comment, because that is exactly finally kind of where I am now in my profession. And that is not to dismiss. Listen, I still think, you don't roll out of bed and look like you just rolled out of bed and go to court or go into a boardroom or go into corporate America. I think that you should take stock in who you are. I just think that doesn't mean altering who you are. I do think you should be professional. I don't think being professional means that you have to change or modify who you are. Who you are is exactly who God intended you to be. And if that's not professional in someone else's eyes, then that's something kind of they got to deal with, not you. They just need to listen to your legal argument, or they have to listen to your boardroom presentation. Okay. Whether or not they can't see past your kinky curly hair, that's on them. They're missing out on the substance, not you. So when Stacey, Ms. Abrams, said, there has not been what I am, therefore I am going to be what I am, I just appreciate that sentiment. And I just want to close out with saying, no, nothing is better than who you are and in your true self and in your true skin. And we have to be comfortable with that, and we have to be comfortable with who we are in our natural state, and not buy in to society's version of what we should be and what we should look like. We are good enough. We are good enough. So I'm just going to read a few more comments because they're coming in, and just thank y'all so much for the support. People will judge us, I think, but I think the key is catching people off guard. I love being underestimated. I hear you, because I was going to let my gray hair grow in because I felt like, you know what? I feel like I'm taken more seriously right at the beginning. And I kind of had to just, well, if somebody underestimates me because they think that I'm only 4 years into practice, that's on them again. And just come to them with all the information and experience that I have. And it doesn't matter if they don't know it at the beginning. It gives me a better advantage at some point. Does this growth come with time? The longer you do the work, the better you become, the more comfortable you are in your craft. Thus, your perception or your physical appearance is less important. But when you're new in your career, then perhaps perception of others is more important because you're new and have an image that you wish to portray. And you're trying to, build you're building a reputation. So that's something to consider as well. And yes, now looking back, I can say, oh, this is where I am now, and this is what I would have done differently. So you're right, Gidget, perhaps there's something to be said, and you're building a reputation. Now we have a reputation. Now we cut off our hair, we wear naturals because we work for it, we earned it. But what would you say, Gidget, to a young, litigator, first year out of law school, going into court? What would be your advice? Kamei commented, when I was in college 20 years ago, braids were considered unprofessional. Times have changed because Black women said we were going to wear our braids. Yes, that's right. Some society has grown, which has probably helped us become more comfortable with who we are. Like I said, I used to be insecure about my big lips, the natural size of my lips. Well, now there's Botox so people can have big lips. I mean, I think along with society changing, there's also been a movement in embracing our true selves. I think maybe those things are kind of happened, if not simultaneously, they've happened. They've progressed together. And I would love for that to continue to progress and to grow, and for the standards of beauty to not be set by only a certain group. I think that's important. I have some more comments I want to get to. Disturbingly, jurors potentially comment on physical features, dress, etc. And that is true. When I don't do jury trial, so I don't have to consider that. So most of what we have to do is to distract them with our arguments. Sadly, nobody attention to those superficial things. But you're right, Mel. We cannot control that. We can't. I mean, there are just too many factors to consider. We need to make sure we convey this to those coming in behind us. And so, yeah, I'm going to close because I get so engaged, and I just appreciate all the comments. Jury is a whole different topic. We're portraying not ourselves as much as we are representing the image of our clients. Yes, and that's, many family law attorneys, we don't have to worry about that because it's a bench trial. We're not in front of a jury. We only have to worry about the judge, opposing counsel, and our client. So there are considerations that we have to make, but I think at the end of the day, you have to be confident in your own skin, in who you are and what you're saying and what you're conveying. And that is where you are going to be most powerful. You will be most powerful in your own skin and confident in your own skin. I just want to thank you so much for all your comments, but I said I was going to try and keep this conversation in less than 30 minutes. I'm going to keep having the topics that were covered on Black Women Own the Conversation. I'm going to keep covering them on this show. I wanted a break from the COVID, and I'm going to keep commenting after the show. I'm going to include all these links, especially to build tracking on that group of minors, young adults that was missed in the last bill. I'm going to include that link on here. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please like, join, subscribe, and share. Also, my email is wait1legalminute@gmail.com. I appreciate you. I appreciate you supporting me. And I will see you on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Thank you all. Have a good one.